Hi friends, welcome to my video. Today I'll give you information about how the concept that Kevin Lynch talked about in his book, The Image of the City, took places on the streets of İzmir Altındağ and how they functioned. First of all, I want to talk about the roads. The roads in my video are the ones that people don't usually use, but use occasionally. These roads are alternative roads that people usually use to get to their homes when they are not driving. These locations are usually roads where cars are less frequent and where people are more comfortable walking. A person carrying goods in his hand or someone who gets out in the roads used as a transit road where there is no car noise and human density. In addition, these areas have a certain street culture. As they are old settlements, these streets are side streets where children cycling, children playing ball or playing most game that can be played with their friends. Because according to children, wherever there is no car, the location is the best playground for them. Also, these street structures are not only the roads that people use to pass, but also places where people can work their cars more safely because these streets are generally dead-end streets. Other than that, the streets have very sharp turns and narrow streets when people do not park their cars behind us properly. When cars turn or leave that area, drivers do not prefer such roads too much because they rub against each other while passing. Other than that, even cemeteries became a possible transit route for people when people take a bus, minibus or taxi. It may seem scary for some people, but for some people it is preferred as a refreshing transit route, especially in summer, due to the density of trees. Since the streets around the cemetery are large enough for a vehicle to pass and there is no paving stone for people to walk. If people are going from the location of the cemetery towards the streets or towards the homes, the cemetery is the transit road they will use. Looking at the vehicle roads, Altındağ Street, which has a very crowded traffic at certain hours, especially during school and work hours, is a big problem for drivers. In such cases, people prefer alternative roads. These roads are preferred by people to go to their homes without being stuck in traffic or to get away from the areas with heavy traffic. The roads you see in my video is a very important road for Altındağ. These roads is one of the ways people use to commute to work in the morning. Also, when this road is finished, Altındağ borders end. These roads is very narrow and designed for a vehicle to pass. It was wider before, but the roads has become quite narrow as the walls of the cemetery have been displaced by 2 meters. If two vehicles wants to cross these roads at the same time, one has to wait and let the other pass. So people think that the traffic is better than these narrow roads and do not enter these roads. Some people use it as an alternative road. Second part is edges. These areas are generally structure or wall that act as a wall, separating the regions. These areas are two different parts that show neighborhoods or areas as contracting or complementary. The areas RC in this video are a very nice example for this topic. There are a large space in the central area and building built around it. This region, the city structure has been separated from each other. Examples of even a park constructed between openings, green space or urban cover beyond the boundaries created by building constructed in a single line or continuously. These areas don't just see the edge, but people can have a pleasant time, come to listen to their hearts, come to listen to left the noise and problems of the city. How building created wall impact openings edge. These areas can be definite as memory spaces even if you see it. We can define this location as follows. People meet, they date a location with tens of the years of memory insights, enjoyable places, enjoyable time. These points are used to describe a location to a human or call someone you want to meet at this point. When these elements are taken into consideration, these places work as memory space. As you can see in this video, the mountains are surrounding Altındağ. These mountains work as a wall for Altındağ and constitute the district boundaries of Altındağ. And also these areas are like a playground for a child because it feels free and peaceful. The third part is region. Regions are areas that have a perceptual importance for people and cause us to experience the feeling when entered. While I saw talking about this subject in my video, I videotaped the back alleys of Altındağ because there is a neighborhood structure that changes day by day due to the increase in constructions, but the side streets where the old settlements are located are still the same. So this is the most important perceptual space for me. It serves as a historical places where there are perhaps 19 or 20 years old graffiti on his region. Every Altındağ citizen has passed through this region at least once and has written these articles at least once. It makes a person passing through this region feel the history of the region and importance of the region with the oldness of the wall. the oldness of the floor covering, and the writing on the walls. However, these areas will arouse a feeling of fear for people who don't know this area or don't know where still are will lead, because the narrow street with inscription on the walls means that the backgrounds of scribbling on the wall for some people, and these areas awake for feeling of streets where there is a risk for the being extorted or bettered. When we look at these areas at night, the perception created by the darkness and narrow streets sometimes adds a sense of fear, sometimes hesitation to people. Long and with headed curves, never-ending and narrow streets, the focal points created by the dark and light locations together with the graffiti on the walls express the feeling that people should not pass off that street. The perception that this region created on people turns into reality over time. Sometimes people do their dirty work in these areas at night and cause people to be even more afraid. These things have caused that this region really caused a perception on people and things that were not actually started to happen. Not only the graffiti, their shape and size, but also the location of these regions is of great importance. For example, in an area with a school next to it, the laughter of children makes that area peaceful and loving, even if that area is painted or narrow. In addition to the fact that there is only a school or a building next to it, even looking at the narrow streets in that area, people feel the street culture of that region and make people experience those feelings. How people walk in that area, how they talk to each other, how they travel, and even the music they listen to affects these feelings that those areas create on people in different ways. If an old aunt walking creates the thought that if that area is safe for the aunt to pass off, it is safe for me, even that thought is a reflection of how people feel. Briefly, the biggest thing that adds meaning to a region is the object located in that region. These are graffiti, street lamps, homes, narrow streets, wide openings, destroyed and ruined structures, construction sites. It ensures that the region, including garbage containers, creates a perception on people. The fourth one is nodes, focal points. These areas are the points where vehicles and people mostly use and meet. They can be parks, intersections, or areas with views. In my video, these areas are recorded as roads areas that act as a connection road when people walk on a road. In addition, these areas are areas that causes people to change their roads and are another location that is visited when going to a planet location. If more detailed information will be given about these locations, for example, when we consider intersections are one of the most important traffic elements of a location or a neighborhood. And Intersections seems to be areas that people use again when they want to switch from another location to another use location or to return. After that, parks, schools, and these areas, urban elements that can come as an example. If it is necessary to talk about schools, the fact that a region is not preferred enough for commercial or living for people is proportional to whether there is a school in that region. Schools constantly keep people in a circulation network and became the common points where people constantly intersect. They can be shown not only as areas where people intersect, but also as areas where people meet to play basketball or football with their friends in the school garden after school hours. These points can also be defined as not only intersection points, but also memory space for people. Sometimes these parks are located in one of the most important locations of the district. In such cases, it can become the biggest focal point of the region. This park, which you have seen in my video, is located next to the most crowded mosque of the district, and also contains the mini football field of district's football club, large and shaded spaces for people to sit, activity and training areas for children, and the building of the district's football club. There is also a neighborhood bazaar at the back of the park. These areas form the common focal points created by the most important focal point of the district. Because the park is where people take their children, use sports equipments, play ball or play basketball, walk their dogs, come to sit and watch the match, and come to the bazaar to shop. In addition, these areas sometimes act as pathway that allow people to reach their destination more quickly. Sometimes these points can be called as alternative entertainments and pleasure places where people can go on foot with their families or friends in the evenings. Since there is no entertainment area in the immediate vicinity where they can go within walking distance. The fifth one is second elements. Second elements vary for most people. According to some, the second elements may be historical. For some, it may be a funny symbol or a building. For some, it may be state land or building. For some, it may be a building that attracts attention with the exterior cladding. It's about people setting their own second points. And in my video, I'll talk about the second elements in Altındağ, which are generally determined to point to a location for most people or to give direction for a location. First second elements in Altındağ for me, Balsa. This place used to be a bakery called Çıtak, but the name of this place has changed 3 times in the last 5 years due to the change of owners. However, people still call it the Çıtak, and this area is the second points people use to describe a location or to chart a road to themselves. We cannot say that there is only second points in this video, because sometimes the areas where people shop the most are their signature points. Sometimes even a gas station in small neighborhoods can become the signature points of that. Especially it is located in the important area That area became signature items and signature elements for people to use when describing a location. Sometimes even a school walls can be an example. Thank you for watching my video. Have a nice day.